Directed by Alexander Huang, we are talking Cold-Blooded, a sort of found footage movie. Do you have any recognisable names here? Kind of. We have a couple of cameos from Felissa Rose, a horror movie darling, and that guy who plays Hector in every movie that he is in. However, not in this one, admittedly. So this is an interesting movie. I have actually watched a couple of the Alexander Huang films before. Now this one is listed as a 2024 movie. Now I'm going to do some speculation here. But it does say that it's a 10-year anniversary of the movie, but I can't find any record of it being released previously to this. Now I did do a little bit of investigation and I tried to see if this movie was released under any other name, looking at the filmography of the main character, the actress who plays the main character, and the director, but I can't find any record of a movie matching this story. So I suspect it never was released, at least on a wide basis. It may have been completed and kind of shown to people, but not actually officially released. Even I've looked at this director's YouTube channel and stuff, couldn't find any record of it. But what I did find was some production photos from 2016. So it's not actually a 10-year anniversary at all, because it looks like it was made in 2016. So there you go. But here it is. It's officially a 2024 movie. By the sounds of it, this movie that we have in 2024 has been tweaked from its original idea, and maybe a few scenes added. I suspect probably the ones with, you know, Felissa Rose and, you know, this other actor. But what's the story? What's it all about? And why is it kind of a found footage movie? So it has two timelines really. We have a framing device where a couple of detectives are talking to a movie producer or a TV producer, and they're showing him this footage because the camera crew have gone missing. And we actually see the footage, and that is the kind of found footage portion of it. But the movie kind of oscillates between the two sort of timelines. So the story main is this group of 4 filmmakers. Well, they're kind of like a news crew sort of thing, and they're doing some story about missing people that have gone without trace in the desert. And, you know, we interview a couple of people, and it turns out there's this undiscovered race of lizard men that are living in the desert and are somewhat nefarious, one might say. And it is this film crew learning more about what's going on and obviously coming croppers, really, with these lizard men. Now, what will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So regardless of when this was released, it is clearly a movie that was made certainly no later than 2016, which puts it in the kind of the early days of this filmmaker's filmography. So it is a very low budget film, even with these whatever reshoots have been made or scenes added. It still is a low budget, somewhat sort of, dare I say, amateur kind of style film. What can we say that works in this movie's favour? So I actually quite like the idea of a news team being the kind of the centre of this story. I think it kind of makes sense on a narrative level, and they would be going to places like this and wanting to get a scoop, wanting to kind of get a good story. They start off by finding like a human finger, and this kind of ends up sort of making them go further down the rabbit hole, effectively trying to get like this big story that they're going to want to go national. So it's a good idea to have these people sort of, you know, trying to go out and get themselves maybe more into trouble. They end up getting lost and stuff. But I like the idea. I also quite like some of the actual relationships between the people. We have these two female members. We've got like a slightly older lady and like a younger one, and they're kind of jostling for position for the kind of the face of this production. So I just quite liked it because it kind of felt sort of quite realistic to a large degree. And the actress who plays the character of Kelly, who is really our main character, she hasn't got a lot of credits, but I actually thought she was fairly strong here and actually did a fairly good job. It looks like she's done a lot of what films she has done are with Alexander Huang, the director here. So maybe they're kind of connected outside of these movies. But yeah, I kind of quite liked the character, and I thought she did a reasonable job here. So the movie actually has these other little scenes as well with other footage that has been recovered from just random people who have gone missing. And this shows kind of attacks by these kind of lizard men. So we get a few different attacks from these kind of creatures spliced in through the movie, I guess to give it kind of a little bit more excitement. These again might be some of the footage that was maybe made a little later and stuff like that. But it does mean that the action isn't saved right until the end, like some kind of found footage sort of tends to be, and we do have a little bit of a see of these creatures through the movie. It's not a long film, so it's relatively kind of well paced, and it's an interesting movie in the fact that the majority of the film actually kind of takes place during the day rather of a night. So obviously it's a little bit different in regards to that. Now it is a low budget film, and the creatures are done through CGI, and I won't lie, they don't look brilliant. I think the scenes where we only see partial sort of elements of the creature, like a leg or a claw and stuff like that, they kind of look a little better than when we kind of see more of the full shots of the creature, which kind of looks like a video game boss. But again, relative to the budget, I think where they tried to kind of hide the budget, it probably works quite well. And I actually kind of found the wraparound story kind of a little bit more interesting as well, even though it doesn't really make sense that the police would show this kind of TV producer this footage really, and because they think he might be a suspect, but this clearly shows that there's a creature and stuff. It's a little bit of a hokum idea really, but it's just the idea here is to have this kind of framing device, maybe to kind of sort of pad out the running time or what have you, but there you go. Okay, so what doesn't work in this movie, like I've said, the CGI here is very rudimentary, and it kind of looks like these kind of drop-in effects. There's one sequence where this creature fights this one guy. I mean, it's just, I would have cut that out to be honest. And so yeah, it just doesn't look particularly good. But even the sequences where I think you just see a part of these creatures, I mean, they never look great, but they're probably the better idea. It seems to me that it could have been achieved a little better with a man in a suit sort of situation. Probably again, maybe it was cheaper to have these sort of drop-in effects, but yeah, it kind of doesn't really work in regards to that. There's plenty of like illogical things in this movie. Now I've mentioned the framing device and this police showing this guy this footage in his home. Doesn't really kind of make sense to be honest with you. But even as the conceit of found footage, it kind of, when we have these found footage segments, there's plenty of times in the movie where it clearly betrays that found footage, like who's holding the camera, that sort of thing. It's a static shot, or it's kind of like a wide angle shot and things like this. It seems to me like this movie wants to have the advantages of having a found footage, i.e. shaky cam. We can kind of get away with not showing much of the creatures, but it also wants to have that more cinematic area where it wants to have wide angle shots and stuff like that, and there's sequences, why would anyone be filming this, or it just happens to kind of be in frame and things like that. So that this is not the most, even if you take the framing device out, which kind of obviously sort of betrays the faux realism of a found footage, even if you take that out and you just watch the found footage sequences, it just doesn't really kind of make sense. And they've spliced in these other attacks like in the middle of this kind of like story and stuff. It's the conceit here of found footage is actually kind of one of the more poorer examples of that type of style of filmmaking used, to be honest. I quite like the main actress. I quite like the kind of her kind of rival, so to speak. But there are characters here that are on the weaker side, and we have this kind of hillbilly guy, and it's way overplayed. It's so that there are some kind of proper sort of cheesy acting in this movie from some sort of characters and stuff like that. It's a real mixed bag, to be honest. There are like, Sheriff turns up, and he was quite good, but there are characters here that were just kind of quite poor ultimately. The movie doesn't really shine in any particular way. The film is clearly very low budget, clearly kind of somewhat made through amateur independent means, but there's nothing really kind of like outstanding in regards to like visionary filmmaking like sometimes you'll get with these start-off movies or low-budget kind of affairs, using that inventiveness. That never really kind of happens in this film. And I have to say that kind of the back and forth between the main kind of found footage story, these little inserts with these other random people, and the kind of the framing device, I think makes the movie seem very kind of disjointed at times. And we have to talk about biology without really kind of like giving anything away here. Let me just say, at the end of the movie, it pushes the envelope of believability, into this is extraordinarily schlocky, trauma-style kind of logic. Not the movie's trying to be necessarily a realistic film, but yeah, whatever. It's a somewhat throwaway B-movie found footage movie. It's certainly not one of the scarier horror films you've ever seen. In fact, it really never really kind of does anything other than be quite sort of, at best, somewhat amusing. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. It's not a film if you are wanting a legitimately riveting story, performances, VFX, but if you are a fan of B-movies, a fan of silly schlock, then you may want to check it out, because it's plenty of those. And obviously, if you're a found footage movie, maybe you want to check it out. So yeah, 3 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? Would you see it? Please do let me know, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.